welcome to an episode of Casual Corner. This is a special episode as I have Super Lex with me today. And we are back in the comic store, which means I've been able to get out. Yes, Comic Warehouse. And so today we did a bit of a mixed tournament today. It was our Secret Wars Battle World pre-release, but it was also month 3 of the Days of Future Past. So Alex actually played in the tournament today. Yay. So she's going to let you know how her games went as well. Now my first round, I went up against my teammate Emily. And it was actually kind of funny because we weren't thinking about it. He had set us all down, again, like, pre-seeded all of us. And then we sat there, opened our boosters, and helped build our team. So I was giving Emily advice on, like, how to build her team and what we were doing, and we were talking back and forth, and she had pulled Regent. And she wasn't sure if she wanted to play Regent at full points or drop him down and then put more things on her team. And because we're also kind of using this as practice to get used to the characters, because these are figures that will be used at Worlds, she decided to put Regent at the lower dial and put more figures on her team. So, and then the tournament started and we're just like, oh yeah, we're going to face each other. So Emily's team ended up being Regent with Captain America and, oh my goodness, what else did she have on her team? I took a picture. I can't remember.
I ended up losing.
Do you remember what Emily had on her team? No? Okay.
But I ended up losing.
Yeah. So we had actually, she had moved forward with her team, and I had moved forward a little bit, and we were playing on one of the Manhattan maps from Book of the Skulls, the part of the Fear itself, and she had moved forward, and then I moved forward, and then I ended up clearing, and she was like, why aren't you coming after me with your World Breaker? And because my team was World Breaker, Chase, Iron Fist, Red Wolf, and Captain America. And I was like, well, you're out of my charge range. You're just like, oh no, I didn't realize I was out of your charge range. So she had meant to actually put her characters out there to bait me out so that Regent could come back in and attack me. And so that caused her to push forward more. So she, the next time around, brought her Captain America into the mix of my characters. So at one point, Captain America was just surrounded by my entire team. And so Chase Iron Fist, I actually sidestepped and put her in front of World Breaker, because when she's adjacent to an opposing character, she can't be hit with a range attack. She had an Iron Man, and there's one other character, Thor, the generic Thor. So that was her team. I would remember it eventually. So it's like I had two, she had a bunch of ranged guys. So I was like, all right, I'm going to move Iron Fist to the front so that she's facing the characters, so that when Iron Fist is adjacent to an opposing character, it can't, she can't be the target of a ranged attack. So then she couldn't retaliate basically with those characters. But that also blocked line of fire to World Breaker because he's not a giant. So that kind of protected my team. And then we kind of just went crazy on this, on the Captain America and took him out, which then left Iron Fist vulnerable. So she had come back and attacked my my Captain America. And then I moved forward and had both Iron Fist and World Breaker go after Regent, because I'm like, well, that's the next biggest target here. And so a lot of attacks that like should have hit didn't hit on both sides. So like we're both fighting with our dice, but then also I managed to get at least like 1 critical hit on her. I think she got 1 critical miss, but I think she was able to prop out of that. I'm not sure. So they have. Anyways, it ended up being that like I managed to just pummel the crap out of Regent, and then that left me with just Thor and Iron Man, and basically my team unhurt. So she managed to do a lot of damage to my Captain America, but not enough to take him all the way out. And then my team of having a full dial World Breaker, full dial Iron Fist, and a full dial Red Wolf, who thank goodness has prob, just took her out. So I ended up winning the first round. And then the second round, I was up against Devin. And Devin is one of the best players in our area. And I was like, I don't want to fight this. And he had Nick the Fury. So his team was Nick the Fury, Thordis, So it was Nick the Fury, Thordis, Alex Wilder, and Sheriff Steven Rogers. So he had, with Alex Wilder, he basically gives your opponent the choice of, he either has 2 of Perplex, Outwit, and Prob. And my team is very susceptible for Outwit. So every time he was activating that power, I was like, okay, you can't use Outwit, but that also gave him Perplex and Prob. So his team was very range-based and had a huge, like, distance swing on me. So there's no way I could really get to him. So I was like, all right, well, the only way I can get any points and do anything with this team is to just throw my team in his face. Now, the advantage I did have was that my 3 main attackers are all Indomitables. So I was able to keep up the attacks, and I did manage to do some damage, but I only managed to take out the Sheriff Steven Rogers, but it took me like the entire tournament to do, and by then it was Red Wolf who took him out because he was the only one left. And so he had taken out everybody. He was able to focus his attacks and use his extra perplexes to deal with the fact that I have really high defenses on a lot of my characters. So he was able to mitigate that with all of his perplexes, and then by the end, I was like, all right, fine, you can have Outwit because it doesn't matter anymore. So I lost the second game. And then going into the third game, I was up against a younger guy named Tristan. I believe he's been to our venue before, and there's like this group of 15-year-olds that come in together. And his team was... So he had Worldbreaker, Captain America, Shifting Focus, so he managed to pull both Captain Americas, and the Sheriff, Steve Rogers, and the Spider-Man that comes in Stasis. Now, it's one of those things with the sealed environment, taking 2 turns off for the Stasis Spider-Man, you don't really notice it because it takes a little bit. You don't have that whole Alpha Strike. You're not built around making sure you're in your opponent's face by turn 2. But he also had a bit of a range advantage on me as well with his Captain America. And then by this point, this is the 3rd round, and this is when, you know, I'm paying attention to my cards, and I noticed that my Captain American could decide to have Running Shot. So I had him do Running Shot, and I moved forward and took a chunk out of his Captain America, which forced him towards me. And going up against his Worldbreaker, like, I knew that I basically had to pick off other things because he's got Perplex and he's got Outwit, and it's like, oh my gosh, I've got to deal with this. And I didn't realize that the Stasis Spider-Man had Outwit, so I had, after knocking his Captain America, I was like, all right, I'm going to move my Iron Fist and my Worldbreaker forward so to make him kind of do the pressure on Worldbreaker, and not realizing that Spider-Man had Outwit, my Worldbreaker died like next turn. So he's able to utilize his entire team to take out my Worldbreaker, even though he had to deal with 2 stop clicks. He still got enough attacks to get through him. Did take him 2 turns, sorry. Took him 2 turns to take out the Worldbreaker. So I managed to get an attack in with the Worldbreaker, so moved him in 1 token, attacked next turn double token, and then he managed to take out the Worldbreaker. So I'm like, okay, well now I'm left with Iron Fist, but I still have Captain America who can do a lot of damage. So I had my Captain America press forward against his Spider-Man, and then I had Iron Fist dealing with Sheriff Stephen Strange and the Captain America and the Worldbreaker. So she managed to do a lot of damage. And then I didn't notice that her first trait is that opposing characters can't use Flurry. So he had used a Flurry against me, but it whatever. So that's the advantage how he was pressing so many attacks against my Worldbreaker. And then, so I managed to break down a lot of his team, and my Captain America against the Spider-Man was able to take him out, and I had Red Wolf, who had Precision Strike, was able to do some attacks too. So I got him down to just his Worldbreaker, but he had severely damaged my Iron Fist, so I had pulled her back so that he didn't finish her off. And then when he was just down to the Worldbreaker, I moved her back in, because by then she has combat reflexes, and he's only has, I got rid of all of his Perplex with his other characters, so he had an 11 attack against my 19 defense, and he's got no Perplex, no Prob, so I had, all I had left at that point was the Red Wolf, and Iron Fist versus his one World Breaker. So he was having a hard time dealing with my prob and my high defenses. So the few times that he was able to hit the high defense, I was able to prob him out of it. And then I had Iron Fist at that point. When she's got the combat reflexes, she also has combat expert. So I was able to bring up my attack and damage to deal with his constant invincible and stop clicks, and ended up over the next like 4 or 5 turns just whittling down, doing 1 damage at a time, because Red Wolf, thankfully, even though he has 2 damage, has precision strike, so he's going to be dinging the World Breaker, and managed to bring it down where I won the second game. And he got more than, well, he got half my team because I had 4 figures, but the points wise, more than half my team. So I ended up finishing the whole tournament 2-1, which is like so much better than how I've been doing, because of month 1 I went 0-3, month 2 I went 1-2, so now I'm 2-1. So it kind of just increasingly got better as the tournaments went on. Super Lex, do you want to talk about your games? No? Okay. Well, she got to play 3 rounds, and her team was the super rare Thanos, the super rare Iron Fist, and Molly Hayes. And her first round was up against our good friend Aiden, and he was playing an almost fully the Valley team, where he had like the Doc Ock and the Elektra and a Black Widow and a Gunslinger. And I think the only thing that was on there that wasn't part of the Valley was the rare Captain America with the triangular shield. So she lost the first round. Did you take any points from Uncle Ian? Yeah, so she managed to kill something. And then the second... Yes, he had a duplicate Thanos that she took out. And then her second round, she played against our teammate Emily. And that was a hard slog, because her Thanos, Emily was only able to do like a damage at a time, and she had prob, so anytime Emily could hit, she probbed her out of it, or anytime it did go without the prob, still hit with the prob, she was only doing 1 damage at a time. So it took her a long time. Did you manage to kill any of Emily's characters? Nope. And then her final game, she was up against a newer player to our venue, Dennis, who is actually the brother of one of our patron supporters. And
Who's Matt?
No, that's Dennis. It's Matt's brother. So she actually ended up winning that game, and went up against. I didn't get a chance to see everything that was on his team, but she put that slog through and had held back Thanos until the end, and Molly was doing a lot of damage, and Iron Fist was doing a lot of damage, and had him down to. Oh, Iron Fist got knocked out. But Thanos was able to clean up at the end, so she managed to win one of games in her very first tournament. So that was our tournament, and hopefully we can continue to get out here to keep playing. Jason's going to be able to come back next week for our actual release tournament, and then we have WKO season and then Worlds. Do you want to say goodbye to Super Lex? Absolutely. Bye, guys!